Good morning. My name is Paul Glatter. I'm a journalist, a professor, and one of the founders of Vett News. Vett is a Swedish word that means savvy, and our aim is to make citizens more savvy about the news media they read, and to make news organizations more transparent with the public. We do that by creating a suite of tools for news trust and verification. Our idea started in 2017 when I wrote a post on Forbes.com that explained to citizens how you can determine what is a legitimate news source. It went viral. News leaders were tweeting it, citizens were writing to us on emails and on Twitter asking us to build something to take that article forward. What we outlined as a method for people to determine news organizations is to ask and look, does the news organization correct itself when it makes a mistake? A good news organization make their code of ethics visible to the public online, and good news organizations label what is opinion and what is not. It was clear to the readers that there's a problem right now in America and in the world. The trust of the public in media is at a historic low, and a lot of people believe news is actually made up or can be made up. But this is an old problem. In 1835, the New York Sun had a series of stories suggesting man inhabited the moon. So perhaps we should feel better that we've solved this before. In fact, in the last century, groups of news organizations and associations formed ethics and standards for media outlets across mediums, from radio and TV news to news papers. But it's been difficult in the digital era to translate those ethics and standards into a disrupted industry. It's been difficult for news organizations to regain the public trust. So we decided to help. We listened to our audience and built our first tool, which was a browser extension that surfaces a database of rankings. We have 55,000 news organizations in the database. We run our 3 tests on each news organization, asking, does it have a code of ethics, etc., and give them a green light, a red light, or a yellow light. And we have a set of tools we can continue building to surface this, that we think this kind of tool in the future will be very important to advertisers and to big tech. In the Combine program, as we talked to lots of people and customers, the most salient insights we received were from news organizations and news professionals. They told us, we want the kind of tools you're thinking about in-house. In fact, so these are some of the organizations we talked to. So that's what we decided to do. We tried to look at the relationship between the news organizations and the readers, and we started to build tools like an opinion checker, like a code of ethics generator, and a corrections dashboard, a suite of tools that can function like plugins into a content management system. So our technologist at Stanford University is using machine learning and natural language processing to build a tool that can determine if an editor or writer, if their piece of content, their story, is using subjective language, and if it's attributing its sources well. That tool, like a spell check kind of tool, helps a news organization in-house before it hits the publish button, and it can also work so that you, the reader, can see if the news organization is adequately labeling its content. Our other tool, the Code of Ethics Generator, is a data bank of ethics and standards that can help any new news organization create a code of conduct, a code of standards and ethics, or to refresh an existing one, and that involves consulting work on our team's part. And then our other tool, the corrections dashboard, helps a news organization manage the corrections flowing into its company. And that flows from insights. The Knight Foundation did a report in November that showed the most important thing to you, the readers, is that a news organization corrects itself and does so visibly when it makes a mistake. So let's delve deeper into that corrections tool. This is an actual case study where a woman wrote a story in the Wall Street Journal about filmmaker Ingmar Bergman and identified him as a French icon. Well, a reader, Stephen, noticed that story and realized that Ingmar Bergman is actually Swedish. So, not knowing what to do, he sent a tweet to the Wall Street Journal and its 16.5 million Twitter followers saying, hey, I think you got the ID wrong in that headline and on that tweet. Nothing happened. So a day later, he retweeted the same tweet. Nothing happened. 6 days later, he took another look and saw, okay, they fixed it, but they didn't tell me they fixed it. They just pretended like we didn't make the mistake. So that's difficult for a brand. It's difficult for me, my alma mater is the Wall Street Journal, to see that happening. All good journalists make mistakes. The issue is, do we correct them? And how do we correct them? So when I was a reporter at the Wall Street Journal, if I misspelled your name or got an important fact wrong about your company, you typically would email me or call me to let me know that. Assuming I got the email in the midst of other emails or wasn't traveling or something, I would send it immediately to my editor. And we would go back and forth, sometimes verifying whether it was a mistake or not, involving several editors, eating up sometimes half a day of time. That's a clunky process. We talked to 30 newsrooms in the last month and found that clunky process is still how things are done. There must be a better way. So the corrections tool we are creating is a content management system dashboard where you, the reader, you see that story on the website, you click a button to report a mistake. You do some of the work of explaining where the mistake resided. That mistake report goes to designated editors who can adjudicate these quickly and allow the reporter to continue doing their job reporting the news. This added efficiency saves time and money in the newsroom, and the product will surface to the audience quick results and where corrections have been made, ensuring the public trust, which is the source for advertising and subscription revenue for our industry. We did pricing studies and came to, we found that of the 30 news organizations we talked to, 99% said, wow, we want that tool and those set suite of tools. We were willing to pay for those as well. 95% told us that. And so our initial pricing model suggests $129 per user per month, so per seat at a news organization for this corrections tool we just described, and that would save money for how the process is currently happening. Now you might think the news industry is struggling, and in some ways that's true, but it's been disrupted, but at the same time it's a massive pool for advertising globally, for the $2 trillion global advertising market. And McKinsey shows that newspapers alone globally have $109 billion in advertising this year. And so we believe tools like the ones we are developing will direct subscription money and advertising money to the brands with the most integrity. We're part of the emerging trust industry. And while some of our peers have raised funding or gotten attention, none of them are building the kinds of tools with simple methodology like we're building, and none of them are building tools for publishers like we are building. Our team is fantastic. We have a combined experience of 100-some years in the news industry at brands like the ones you see here. We also have 20 degrees from institutions like Columbia, Stanford, and Fordham. We plan to partner with industry associations to create these tools, as well as newsrooms and content management systems. In the next 9 months, we plan to pursue grant funding, additional incubator programs to help us build and release these tools so we can test and sell them. And then we plan to raise larger funding to create more of a whole product that serves the readers and the industry and society more broadly. We can make citizens more savvy about the news they read. So join us. Follow us on social media. Introduce us to people who care about this space, because together we can create a better infrastructure for news and information, a better ecosystem, which is so vital to democratic and free societies. Thank you.